Hello consumers, this is Altari, the professional gamer, here with you for our second episode of the PAX Friday review. In this show, we'll be going over all of the exciting information that we've gotten for Pax Day in the previous week. Last week was our first episode and we went through all of the exciting screenshots that Mainframe dropped for us. This Friday, we got a whole lot of exciting information that you're going to want to stay tuned for. So here it is. And that's totally okay because we have some other exciting information that I wanted to talk about with regards to a screenshot that we caught something last week. It was something really, really exciting and interesting because we hadn't seen it before. But really quickly, before we get too far carried away into this, I just wanted to shout out our Discord community. If you haven't done so already, do check out our official Discord. It is called The Professional Gamer. Link is down below. If you haven't done so already, be sure to like and subscribe, and please do share our videos with any of your friends that might be interested in PAX Day. It most certainly will help our small startup channel. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and give a little talk about the most recent screenshot that was dropped to us for PAX Day. Here is what we can see is our traditional character model. I don't know if there's another player model than this female rig that we have right here, but nevertheless, it says, "What wills the wisp?" And it is a picture of player character, I would imagine, holding a sword. It looks like they also have some kind of dagger sheathed away right there. And then we have this wisp that has these butterfly moth looking things that are kind of floating around, and they're going through a forest of some kind, it looks like. So other than just this screenshot looking very cool, very Unreal 5-esque with the lighting kind of lighting up all of the forest and all of that, we don't have altogether too much information. In the past, Mainframe has told us that magic is something that's very real and obviously present in the world, even though the setting for PAX Day is supposed to be a kind of like a parallel medieval Europe style setting. That being said, the reason why it's parallel and not directly connected is that while there might be shared names or shared people, maybe even shared events between our actual world and history and PAX Day, there is still a lot of stuff that doesn't necessarily tie together. One of those primarily being that magic is something that's actually real. So in history, the typical medieval person would perceive magic as just something that they couldn't explain. In fact, as the church in our history and real history kind of continued to develop in the sciences as they were funding them, a lot of common people would see these different things that the scientists were doing as they were doing their research, and they'd call it magic themselves. But this is completely different. This is what actual people in medieval times would think is magic, and it's not just something that's unexplained. It's actually there and real and tangible. And this is an example of that. You don't see these in real life. You don't see them in medieval times. You don't see them today. So this is a good example of that. And I don't know if they're magical, if they're a part of this spirit realm, which is another thing that PAX Day developers have talked about. But it's very cool to see. Now, to get into the more interesting meat and potatoes for what I wanted to talk about today. So you all remember this screenshot that I showed from last Friday. And if you haven't done so, please do go and check out our building FAQ video, as well as any of the other content that we've done about the building in PAX Day. I think we've done 2 or 3. And you should totally check them out. The links are going to be down below. And in this particular one, when we were going through it last week, I noted that there was this very interesting set of what looks to be players or potentially NPCs. And I didn't know which one it was, and I didn't want to give you all false information. So I just said it's maybe players without what looks to be their shirts on, or maybe it's an NPC of some kind. If it's an NPC of some kind, then this is the first time in all of the information that we've gotten from Pax Dei that we see a bipedal NPC or an enemy. And we know that all NPCs, in Pax Dei are... There are no friendly bipedal NPCs. They're not going to be giving us quests. Everything in the world is built by the players, including the buildings and the structures. Now, dungeons and the environment aren't going to be built by players, and that's where the lore is coming in. And I think this picture as a whole is a great example of that. You have a player building off to the bottom right here, but then this entire bottom half of the screenshot is all castle. And while it does look like some of it might have been potentially built by a player or something like that, and it's using some of the build pieces, to me, a lot of these motifs in the structure don't exist. I mean, the rubble doesn't exist. We nowhere that we've looked in all of these pictures, in this city, in any of the screenshots that we've been given, it doesn't look like players are able to place ruins. So this is definitely an environmental piece, and these are definitely not players. And this is where it gets interesting, because in my previous video, again, check it out, it's the PAX Friday review episode 1, one of the top comments in that video was actually from Play Pax Dei, the official YouTube channel for Pax Dei. And they said they are not players. So that's a lot of interesting information, because that means these are indeed the first enemy NPCs that exist, that we've been shown, at least to our knowledge, in Pax Dei. So that made me start wondering, well, I wonder, now that we know that these are definitely non-player characters, they're not players, what are they? What can we get from that? And we've had several lore posts over the last couple of weeks, and a lot of them have been paired with some screenshots. So I don't necessarily know exactly, no one knows the perfect picture of lore yet, because we haven't gotten that much information, but I wanted to try and take a dive here at a couple of screenshots or concept art, I don't know what you want to call them, but announcements that the developers have come out with, and look at the stories and try and infer what our two little friends down here are and who they're associated with. Are we fighting them? Are we not fighting them? What's going on with these? So one of the first posts that were made was this post about the Harvest of Sorrows. And it was a giant lore post. I'm going to read it and we'll talk about it a little bit. But really quickly, the one thing that I kind of want to bring reference to, and you'll see why later in the video, is this symbol right here. All right, so just remember that symbol. It's basically a cross with two circles in it. Now, this is different than the other symbol that you see on this established church, which is right here. What is that symbol? So that is the actual emblem for Pax Dei. This is the emblem. It's the circle with the 4 crosses and the big hole in the middle. And there's a screenshot of the actual image over in this direction. But nevertheless, this is completely different. So this is something, and contextually speaking, let's take a look at the actual lore post for Harvest of Sorrows. So, the post says, Gayun, Grand Inquisitor, the burning edge of God's wrath, servant of Papus Gloria II ad futurum rei memoriam, In pursuing the will of Papus Gloria II with great ardor and pastoral solicitude, so many big words, so I apologize if I mispronounce them, requires the Congregation for Extinguishing Heresy has examined the nature and recent rise of the Sethian heretical depravity within the Kingdom of Anatolia and their role in the diabolical events leading to the disgraceful and cowardly murder of our ninth Redeemer, Lois. They have to put the really hard names in there for me. So, Lois is what we're sticking with. Through the pious desire, we have strived by our toil to root out any and all errors we have come across among these lost souls, and employing the hoe of a wise laborer, zeal and devotion of our faith gives us to wrestle back the scorched hearts that have been lost to this abomination. Through these examinations, and not without great pain to ourselves, the egregious facts about the existence of this order have come to our ears. All across Anatolia, its provinces, cities, territories, regions, and dioceses, many persons of all sexes, heedless of their own salvation and forsaking the Pax Dei. Interesting that we have the title now in the lore as well. Given themselves over the incantations, charms, and conjuring, and other abominable superstitions and sortileges. Mainframe, you're killing me. Offenses, crimes, and misdeeds ruin and cause to perish the offspring of women, the foal of animals, the products of the earth, the grapes of the vine, and the fruits of trees, cattle, and flocks, and herds, and animals of every kind. Vineyards also, and orchards, meadows, pastures, harvests, grains, and other fruits of the earth, that they afflict and torture with dire pains and anguish. I do therefore desire, as is my duty, to remove all impediments by which in any way my inquisitors are hindered in the exercise of their office, enabling them by any means necessary to prevent the taint of heretical pravity and of other like evils from spreading their infection to the ruin of others who are innocent, the zeal of religion especially impelling us, in order that the provinces, cities, dioceses, territories, and places aforesaid in said parts of Anatolia may not be deprived of the office of Inquisition, which is their due. To that end, I seek a decree from the hand of the Holy See, and by virtue of her apostolic authority, that it shall be permitted to the said inquisitors in these regions that they exercise their office of inquisition without prejudice, and may proceed to the correction, imprisonment, and punishment of the aforesaid persons for their said offenses and crimes. Gayun's report to the Holy See in spring of 3899 AC, 1 year after Lois, the ninth Redeemer, perished at the hands of the princes of Anatolia and at the beginning of the great downfall. This is called the Harvest of Sorrows. Okay, so if you made it through all of that with me, congratulations. I really do appreciate it, because that was a lot of text. But this is kind of setting a stance for what happened in Pax Dei before the players arrived, and what we can kind of expect to see. So the picture that this lore post is giving us is that we have a church. The church's pope is Gloria II, and she is being asked for permission to allow inquisitors, specifically Gayun's inquisitors, to go throughout the land and prosecute individuals who have an opposing view to the church, and therefore they're causing the deaths of all of these things. And in reality, what I think, other than all of the just massive amount of things that we can talk about in terms of some of these names and their historical significances, is all of that in relation to the actual picture that we were given by Mainframe, which says it's the Harvest of Sorrows right here on the picture. So we know that this image is depicting the Harvest of Sorrows. We can kind of see what looks to be two characters or something like that are standing overlooking something. There's a lot of these posts that are hung up, and we see a couple of background characters. This looks like someone's hanging or they're on a pike of some sort, but nevertheless, there's kind of a dichotomy here. The first half is there's this church that's in the background, right? This looks like it's an established thing. It looks like it's a part of the city. Then we have this kind of strung up cross symbol here and some fire. It looks like something went wrong. The statue that's in the back here, it looks like it's missing a head. I think some kind of revolt or some kind of rebellion or something like that happened. And the result of said rebellion is potentially whoever put this symbol up, right? Because the establishment in this city is this church, which has the Pax Dei symbol, right? The statues destroyed, the parts of the city that are constant, the parts of the city that are actually established, those things look like they've been damaged or destroyed, whereas this new thing that's coming forward with these new symbols, not symbols, but motifs to this picture, is a bad thing has come. And as we note from this lore snippet, is the Inquisitor Gayun is looking for more support and being able to attack, what is it? The Sethian heretical depravity within the kingdom of Anatolia. So my argument here is that this symbol is most likely a symbol of the Sethians, whereas this symbol right here in the church is more a symbol of the established church, the one that the Papus Gloria II is the Pope of. So this has the potential to be an enemy that we might see in Pax Dei. And I'll take that a little bit further. The next screenshot lore snippet that we got, I don't know if this is a screenshot actually. I asked in general Discord. I didn't get an answer from the Mainframe developers, but people were kind of 50-50 on whether or not this is a concept art or if it's a screenshot from in-game. But regardless of whether or not it's a screenshot or it is a concept art, there's an important symbol that I want to point out, and it's the one that's in the forefront of this image, and it's the one that's on the cape. So again, we see this cross with a circle on top. So I think it's safe to say that this image here is potentially an image of a Sethian wearing a cape and armor, with a friend who is also a Sethian and wearing a cape and wearing armor. That leads us to the next lore snippet. Chloe, Magister Dolores, keen servant of the Holy Inquisition and humble spiritual disciple of Armazel ad futurum re memoriam, as instructed with the eagerness fitting our purpose, I wish to report our findings after having harvested the depraved minds of the Sethian heretics, whose fate was laid in our hands and lives of whom we carefully and aptly ended with the most proper pastoral care. I think that is referring to the edge of a blade, but let's keep reading. The original filthy dogma of the Sethian heresy and the idea that educates all they postulate and do is the belief that God is purely spiritual and that his kingdom belongs strictly to the spiritual realm, while the temporal world and everything within it was supposedly created by the devil, whom they call Rex Mundi, which in Latin, that literally means king of the world, in order to lure souls from heaven. Therefore, they view everything that has to do with this world as impure, having no worth whatsoever, including their earthly lives and bodies. Sethians believe they are repeatedly reincarnated on Earth until they attain what in their perverted mind equals spiritual perfection, allowing them to die for the last time and escape this creation, which they view as a cacophony of evil. Furthermore, they believe that the kingdom of heaven, all souls are the same, no males, no females, indeed no bodies or visual form at all. The division of humans into sexes is a creation of the devil, and carnal love is the ultimate trap laid to corrupt the spirit and keep it perpetually in his grip. In their eyes, removing any signs of sexual division and indeed disrespecting their own body in the most deprived and loathsome way is viewed among Sethians as an effort to get closer to God. And it continues, henceforth, in summarizing their corrupt and perverted beliefs, the following can be stated. 1. Everything of this world is unclean and a creation of the devil. 2. Nothing is worth enjoying. Sad. 3. Nothing is worth saving. Also sad. 4. This earthly existence means nothing and has no value. All right, we're just really depressed right now. 5. The less one conforms to life on earth, the closer one is to God. 6. Sacrificing one's life brings a Sethian soul one step closer to being allowed back into heaven. 7. Self-mutilation and enduring of pain is an expression of the hatred for Rex Mundi and his creation, and thereby a form of divine worship. This disregard for God's creation resulting in rampaging bands of aforesaid heretics crisscrossing the lands, laying murderous waste to everything in their path must be stopped by any means possible. It is therefore of the utmost importance that the order in conducting God's work not be molested by worldly powers or hindered in any manner whatsoever by any authority whatsoever in the manner of the aforesaid and through our papal decree, that we may threaten all opposers, whoever they may be, with excommunication, suspension, interdiction, and still other more terrible sentences, censures, and penalties. This is written by Inquisitor Chloe to the Grand Inquisitor Gaiun the day before the Mass of Great Summons, 3901 AC, urging him to light the fires under the Sethian heretics for real. So, we have this picture of what Sethians are. Sethians seem to be what is set up as who we should view as enemies. They're in opposition to what most players are striving towards, right? We don't like dying. Sethians do like dying. The more that they die, the closer that they get to heaven. So this is in a direct opposition to what the player is setting as their goal. So I think that between those two concept arts, or screenshots, whatever, or screenshot in this case, I don't know. I think we're painting a really good picture for this is a potential enemy that we will see in Pax Dei. Now, just to go back, I don't think the picture that we are looking at looks like this pixelated individual is wearing a lot of armor. In fact, to me, when I'm looking at it, it almost looks like they don't have a shirt at all, or if they do, it's kind of raggedy. There's something going on their head, and then they're wearing like not a dress, but like a robe or something like that, a dark robe. So it had me thinking, okay, well, if it's not the Sethians, then maybe it's one of the first lore postings that we got. And this lore posting is called The Tower. But before I read it, to give us a picture of who this might be, you can see that they're wearing robes, darker colored robes. They have paler colored skin with a lot more exposure. They're not wearing a lot of armor. And at least in this case, they have black hair. So that kind of fits the description that we are looking for of something that's not wearing armor, has a paler middle section and darker lower and top section. So let's read this really quick. This is called The Tower. The tower beckons, and at midnight I join with eternity. My watch will be relieved for the last time, and my master will reignite the insatiable gnawing desire that kindles my mortal body. A promise is fulfilled. Ere I was called, my visitation gifted me the call of hunger, the delightful emptiness which never fills, a thirst that is never quenched, an appetite that saw an end to my neighbors and my family. My children ended the story of Forest Green and its people, everyone I ever knew, those who knew me as their brother, and gluttony never rests. Before I found my place here, I found many farms and villages where today no one remains to remember. It is bliss. As these last hours of my earthly unfulfillment pass, I close my eyes and look around the mire. Soothing and delicious sounds of devouring, of gnawing, of gnashing, and grunts from men and women engorging themselves to their withering soul's desire. My nostrils are filled with a noxious scent of rotting meat, putrid greens, mold, and damp. It is Elysian, which in Latin is heaven. The tower, it flickers. The wriggling bugs and beetles slithering all over my skin glow with new excitement. The deep, soft, wet, and snappy sounds of drudges' bodies being slowly pulled apart can be discerned through the cacophony of sweet and soothing dreams. The tower is alight. Duke Lamelin walks this earth once more. It is time. Gatekeeper Montel, the night before the night eternal. So, that sounds a lot different than the Sethians. The Sethians are about depraving their bodies, getting closer to death, to being reincarnated until eventually they can be reborn and they're in heaven, but they don't have any distinguishing factors of themselves because heaven's about kind of not existing. This is written by someone who seems to be a cannibal. And there's a lot of hunger and eating motifs in this writing. And I think this type of individual is potentially another enemy that we will see in Pax Dei. I don't know what you would call this. I don't know if you'd call them zombies. I don't know if you would call them vampires. All I can really say is it looks like they're eating people or something close to it. Now that definitely sounds like a type of enemy that we could face in Pax Dei. So just to round this entire video off, I think that of the two lore types that we've identified, that out of all of them, these two look to be more like the zombie Gatekeeper Montel style of enemy. And they definitely are a enemy that wants to eat the player. Now, what they're doing here in this tower or castle or whatever these ruins are is completely yet to be seen, and all we know is that they like eating other people. So if you liked this type of content and you want to learn more, definitely check out the rest of our channel. If you've made it this far, thank you. I appreciate the support. Be sure to share this video with any of your friends that might be interested in Pax Dei. And tune in for next week's PAX Friday review. I have a feeling that when the developers don't drop that much one week, that we end up getting a lot more the next week after that. So you'll definitely want to stop by the channel next week for whatever cool and amazing stuff is dropped. Other than that, consumers, thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it informative and interesting. I just wanted to take a picture of what we are looking at down here and really go deep down into it. If you enjoy this type of content and you want to learn more about the lore, please let me know down in the comments and we'll continue to make videos that you all want to see. Other than that, we do have another long form video coming out this Sunday. It's going to be about the hero's journey. So you'll want to be on the lookout for that. It's a really exciting one and it's got a lot of movie references in it, as well as some video games as well. So be sure to check that out when it comes out as well. I hope all of you have an amazing Friday or whatever day you end up watching this. And I hope to see you around next time, consumers. Other than that, I'm Altari, the Professional Gamer. Have a great rest of your day.